I guess you can always bring up the lyric and like that. But yeah, we talk about swap and pickle and Rocky. Well,
All right, guys, let's get started here. So, first things first, we'll start with the indexes. Um, NQ up in the overnight session a decent bit, 0.3%. ES a little bit behind it, 0.25. Um, YM and RTY are kind of leading, so you can see, yeah, we're up 0.45%, and then RTY, which is the Russell, is up 0.4% and at a breakout area. So what this kind of and what you'll notice about these is IWM is lagging, DIA lagging behind the SPY and QQQ. Okay, because these have made all-time highs. DIA has not. Now, normally I wouldn't go after this type of thing, but this has to do with banks. So if we look at XLF, um, most of you guys are in a position with us. We're up about 50% on these for August. And you can see here we have buy signal and we started it here and then added here on this day, and then took off half, stop at break even on the rest of this. Now we're looking for this to continue to trend. And why? Because we have a weekly chart setting up to the upside. You got the squeeze, momentum heading to the upside, and we're about 1% away from a high. Now that's X or XLF, which is the financials. But another thing that's important about this is all the financials earnings are coming up here pretty soon. So we typically like to rally, and the biggest component in the Dow is banks, XLF stocks. So looking at this, we've got JPM running in earnings on July 15th. Uh, Goldman Sachs, same thing. We're having a lot of these banks run to the upside, and a lot more are setting up. So Schwab is one. This is one of the top 10 holdings in the Dow. So with all of this being said, uh, we've got bank earnings coming up, which we can see a rally into that. We're already seeing. some big uh a big move on DIA, but on the weekly time frame, we have a weekly squeeze. We had high volume and a large engulfing candle that engulfed all of this week pretty much, or these ranges here. So I think it's very high probability that the Dow ends up making a high now, especially with the fact that um SPY and QQQ already have. Okay. IWM, this is the only reason this adds confluence is because this has a lot of regional banks in it. So that's also going to help, uh, like even though it's a different sector of banks, or I guess industry group within them, they all are banks, and IWM and the Dow kind of move somewhat in sync, more than the SPY. It's a whole other thing. Anyways, this has banks in it, so does the Dow. They're both heavy components, just different types of banks, but they're all still banks. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so all of that is kind of put together, and you can see that IWM, I'm not interested in this. This is just ton of chop. But the Dow looks a lot more clean for continued price action to new all-time highs. So I think the two biggest things with this, there's a lot of pieces that I've gave you, but we've got a weekly squeeze on here. It's the last one to make, or last major index to make highs, right? So behind SPY and QQQ. And then also a huge thing is earnings coming up. So I think earnings, bank earnings being first, I think that's going to be a catalyst for the next couple weeks to maybe make a high before, okay, before the earnings starts. Put call, people have began to get more bearish as we've moved higher. So I think if we get another one of these small corrections like this, so um, measuring those, that was a 3.5% correction. That was a 2%. So if we get a two or like 2 to 4% pullback, that would not be a bad thing. And I think it would only help us continue to propel higher. So we'll see what ends up happening. But right now, top two holdings is XLF, which we're already in. And we have no risk left on this trade. It's just letting the winners run. Now, XLI, we do not have a position in. And I would like to get involved on this. So I think for DIA, any 30-minute buy signal, like back in here, I think would be a perfect opportunity to get long on this. And because we are in breakout mode, but for me personally, I'm trying to find something more of a swing trade. So I, with one of the top 10 holdings in the Dow is Schwab. And this one, so I talked about this last week with NVIDIA. Okay, it's a very similar pattern. You can see here that we're trading or we're consolidating, right? But we're consolidating to the upside. That just means there's so much strength that they're basically piling in or accumulating here, but it's happening so fast that even though it's chop, we're continuing upside. That's one of the more bullish patterns I see when I'm trading is when you see this kind of drift sideways up. Now let me show you. NVIDIA, we traded this last week and I told you guys the same exact thing last week. So here you can see we've got like this consolidation choppy pattern, but we're moving to the upside. And then as soon as I got buy signals, I went in, took entry, and we've got runners left in this right now that are up 170%. So strong, strong, strong sideways consolidation. And now that the Dow and financials are starting to pick up, I think that now that we don't have any risk on with XLF anymore, it's just a break even or and keep the money we've already took off. Or it continues to run, and a way to add to that position and idea could be through Schwab. Now, one of the things I actually like about this is we've got the high up here, which is around 96, and then we've got this key psychological target of 100. I think that we'll go tag 100 eventually. One thing I did not check yet is the weekly chart. It's already starting to break out. Squeeze is fired. 1 month chart. Yeah, we had buy signals right here, and now it's starting to move in our favor. So yeah, this one, I think that personally, I'm looking to buy the $100 strike September calls, so about 100 days out, and look for this to make a new high and eventually get to $100. So I really like that trade idea behind the Dow setting up. So that's one of the ones that I'm really paying attention to into this week. And that's that. We'll go more into my watch list. So just with that information, I'm more so looking for Dow stocks. So that would be XLI, XLF. So the financials, industrials, those are going to be the ones that are kind of moving more. And if the Dow is continuing higher, right? So, and this is one of the main components of the Dow, and it's in the financials. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. You're seeing that it's that top-down approach, right? Um, from there, some other setups that I am looking at is if we look at TAN, this is the solar ETF. You can see the moving averages are starting to flip. We haven't gotten that really yet for this long of a period. Like we tried there, but it wasn't very long. And we tried there, but couldn't hold. It was never consolidating. This is the first time we're getting above it and consolidating. And this is a little more speculative, but like um so yeah, here we've got this resistance right here at around, I'd probably just go with 35. And we've got buy signals here. So if this breaks out to the upside, the top holding is NXT, which we bought on Friday. And one thing that I'm kind of wondering is about this news here. I don't know how that's going to affect it. So I'll be interested to see in the morning how that affects this. It says they're being investigated. Usually that's not a good thing, but we'll just see how, you never know, right? Like last week, the war news was announced and then we had an upside move. So it's like, we'll see what happens with that in the morning. Anyways, TAN is setting up. This is one of the top holdings in it, or it is the top holding in it, and that will be a pretty nice upside move if it can follow through, especially because this is all-time highs. This is IPO, so it's a younger stock. It's only been around about a year and a half or 2 years. And we're trading right near this high after a strong earnings report, and we're trading right below this high. So if we break out above this, I think we'll go see $70 pretty quickly. And yeah, so that's a really great looking setup. Hmm. And then from there, XLY is also setting up. So this one's breaking out to the upside. I've been talking about this earlier this week. Now that we're breaking out here, our setup and AMZZ is going really well. We bought that on this day right here, and we're trading up, and I would assume we'll be able to trim in the next couple of days, which this is my first take profit right here, and then we're going to see, can we make it to a new high? Um, that's Amazon, and XLY is the main holding. The main holding is Amazon. And then if we go look at Tesla, this is starting to have an interesting setup here. So we're continuing to make higher lows. So you can see here, we put in this low, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low. And so right now I'm thinking, okay, we're getting really tight here. We're starting to build a daily squeeze. We have a weekly squeeze. Um, and I think that what I would like to do is get the trim on Amazon going into tomorrow, the next day, take half of the position off of that, move stops to break even, and then pick up some exposure in Tesla. So I don't have a setup quite yet, but I'm thinking we can get a setup either through this daily or 4-hour chart. So I like that a lot. I think that if we break through this resistance right here, that we will move to 400 pretty quickly. And it'll be a 23% move. But if we did that in TSLL, that would almost be a 50% move. And I think that's the way I'll probably want to play it is through TSLL. Or you could take a lot longer dated calls, whatever you want to do. Um, and then from there, we've got DG. So this one had an earnings gap up. It's got some supply here. We have some supply here, and you can see we've got this high tight flag after earnings, and I think this one can continue to run. And like any pullback entry here, I would like to get and buy the 120 calls for August and trade that to the upside, or honestly go with the shares. Either one, but I think that could be a nice move just up into 120. I think it's gonna might have a little bit of a hard time breaking through all this supply here initially, but if there's enough buyers present after this earnings report, should be able to see continuation. Yesterday, Elon tweeted against the bill again. Tesla might probably drop on Monday, but that could be an entry. No, I'm gonna wait for the some sort of daily or 4 hour chart to set up to trade this one. I that it doesn't really matter to me about what they're tweeting because here the chart's going to tell you before, right? Like we took calls here on this and it ended up we got stopped out right here for like 18, it was like 15% or something like that. And then you can see stop loss took care of it. And then this is when all that tweeting came out and we were out right here. It was a loss, but at the same time, it was a very small loss in comparison to what it is. So the chart's usually going to show you like, okay, if this idea is not working, then there's no long your system is usually going to keep you out of those things. Obviously, some things like hymns is going to happen, but um yeah, I don't pay attention too much to the tweets and all that stuff. It's about earnings, price, all that good stuff. Okay. As for payment processors, these also look good. You can see here we don't have much supply in through here, just pretty swift move down. So XYZ could be a really nice upside move. It doesn't have too much resistance until 80. PayPal, similar story, same kind of sector thing. We've got a little supply here, but I think that this one could have a nice breakout and worth paying attention to. We're getting really tight. We sweep these lows on high volume and then got bought right back up just a couple days later and was what? Almost a 10% move off of that low. So I think this might actually be a good setup for a breakout as long as XYZ can follows through. We went over the Dow, and that's really it. I think the main priority is the Dow this week for me and paying attention to like more of those blue chip names. And then one other thing I wanted to mention. So we talked about XLY and Amazon. One thing to note, if you look at this volume, last time we had volume like this was at the dead lows right here. And then the time before that was right here at these lows right here. And then the time before that, it was a gap up on earnings. And then it continued to run. And then the time before, well, that one didn't match up. But you can see here, here, and here, each time we had that high of volume on Amazon, this has ended up being a pretty significant move to the upside. So the gap down here, the gap down here ended up being the lows. So I think this is telling us, hey, we're headed to new all-time highs, and that's just my opinion. Okay. And Google did the exact same thing. And the volume was actually like just as good. So we had this volume selling candle there. Yeah, these ones don't mean as much, but this had a really high volume day on Friday, and I want to keep an eye on this one to play continuation to the upside. So maybe the next 30-minute squeeze, you can see that was a nice 30-minute signal right before, or like a 2 hour, 4 hour. It just depends. I think we might have missed the initial breakout on this one. So that's why I am thinking, okay, 30-minute squeeze might be the way to go. So, um, do you guys have any questions? Anything you want me to take a look at, review, or about the watch list? But those are the main things that I'm paying attention to. So, do you guys have charts you want me to check out that you're looking at? All right. Vive and ALAB. Yeah, Vive looks good. This looks really good. Huh. Yeah, that actually looks great. Only thing I'm cautious about is it's a tight consolidation or the high compression squeeze. But this pattern just looks great. So honestly, I don't know. And you're this close to 52-week highs. I think this is a really good setup. I'm gonna add that for myself. Thank you. Um, yeah, I think this one looks great and could see continuation on this. How'd the earnings look? Earnings were okay in terms of surprise, but that's okay. The revenue was up compared to these other quarters. But yeah, this is a big brace or base breakout. So yeah, I think that looks great. A lab. I'll be interested to see which way this ends up going. I want to say higher, but we've had rejections at 101, 2, 3 times, and they've been some pretty serious rejections. And that was big volume selling here on Friday, to the downside. So, and then there was selling there. So within this consolidation, all of the biggest volume days here, here, and here were red. So, uh, I don't know. I don't think I would trade this one. I would let it break out above 100 and then trade a 30-minute squeeze or something like that. Right now, there's too many rejections at $100. So, and usually those prove to be pretty serious. So I'd hold off on this one. I'd maybe look at other semiconductors like SMCI, NVIDIA. I think you should definitely continue to pay attention to, um, with that 170 price target up there and the weekly squeeze firing off. I really wish I would have bought calls on this 30-minute squeeze or this weekly squeeze. I'm surprised I didn't. It's up 16%. Yeah, but anyways, that's a nice setup. Um, so yeah, I'd pay attention to ones that are more so leading. KR, I would say this needs a lot more time. And it probably needs to trade sideways for like a week or more. Like about a week at least. Like, let's see if I can find a good example. Yeah, well, you can see like pretty much anytime this does consolidate like this, has a consolidation, it kind of just ends up failing when it gets too extended. It's very mean reverting. It pops up and then drops. Maybe the weekly chart. Uh, weekly chart. Yeah, I think this just needs more time to develop to make a decision on it. Oracle. Yeah, similar story. This needs more time as well. You want to try and wait for at least the 9 to catch up because if you think about it in terms of like a swing basis, the daily 9 is pretty close to the 4-hour 21. So if you were to go long here and it had a move from 210 down to 206, then and that's a big deal for you, then you just got to wait for that higher time frame to set up because that's just going to be a small pullback in terms of the bigger picture. And if it's a really strong stock, it'll hold the 4-hour 21. But that's really for only the high momentum ones, which this could be considered that. We just need to see it test it first. But like if you go look at Hood, it's been holding that 21. Uh, CLS, similar thing here, holding that 21. Um, and these are those stocks that are really strong. Roblox hasn't even came to it. But yeah, so when you're looking at these, see how they continue to hold that 4-hour 21. That's the daily 9 essentially. I mean, close enough, right? But so that's only for those really strong stocks. And right now, that hasn't pulled back to it yet. So I'd look for it to pull back to the 9 and start to hold it, or yeah. BITU. Yeah, so this is just Bitcoin. I do like Bitcoin here. I think it's setting up, and we might end up missing the entry going into tomorrow. But I do have that on my list. This is a good looking setup. I think it's going to go make a new high this week, or maybe not this week, but next few weeks. I think this one will set up and go to a new high. I would like to be in this position for sure. But yeah, so if you're trading any of those, I like IBIT. Um, Leveraged ETF is BTX. BITX. So I also like that as well. So I might be buying this and trading this in terms of Bitcoin because that's got a 4% ADR, Bitcoin 2.5. So yeah, this one looks great. I think you might want if you buy this in the morning, you want to start like if you bought it on Thursday, you're good. It looks like it might be breaking out here, and you don't need to if you're sized in, looks good. But if you're not in it, you'd probably want to buy some, and it's right around this area tomorrow morning. I'd buy some, and then if it pulls back, then you can add to your position as it starts to fill out, like how I did with XLF, where weekly chart looked good, so we got in based on the weekly right around here. And then I continued to hold, and then once the daily time frame gave me a buy signal, I treated it as another trade and just bought the same contract. So I doubled my size and I had a smaller stop on this part here. And so that's how I traded that one. So for BITX or Bitcoin, it's just a similar idea, not necessarily needing to wait for two different signals, but we are a little extended, so you may want to buy half here. If it breaks out, good to go. And then if it pulls back some, back into this consolidation area, you can buy more. But yeah, this looks great. Um, yeah, so I definitely keep an eye on that. The markets are moving higher, so everything is kind of moving higher, kind of blasting through highs. So, yep. All right, guys. Any other questions? Any other charts? Apple. Um, so this one's just it's holding above the 21, which is an improvement. But the thing is, it's the weakest of the bunch. It looks way worse than the S&P 500, so that's why I don't want to trade it. Like S&P is up here making new highs, Apple hasn't moved. So in theory, if SPY drops, this will likely drop pretty hard. Or this could break out and help continue SPY to move higher. So, but right, it's not something I want to get involved with. Um, just because it's below the 50, it's rejected it one, two, three times, and I just couldn't trade it to the upside. I'd wait for the breakout of like this little triangle here and then buy the next 30-minute squeeze. Because right now it's just trading sideways. And the most immediate idea is down, but yeah, I'm not going to short it. I'm just not going to trade it. I know you're long, but I don't know. Not something I would trade personally. But all right, guys. Any other questions? Any other ones you want me to take a look at? Because this is the watch list here. These are the ones I'm paying attention to into next week. But all right, guys. Thank you guys for coming, and I'll talk to you in the chat and be back trading tomorrow.